The Gathering Storm. The Krell Dominion had conquered 7 star systems in less than a decade. Their biomechanical warships, vast, tentacled monstrosities that seemed more creature than vessel, had crushed all resistance with ruthless efficiency. Each species that fell before them had simply become another resource, their planets stripped, their people enslaved or worse. The Krell didn't negotiate. They didn't show mercy. They expanded, consumed, and moved on. When their scout ships first appeared at the edge of Sol system, humanity watched with growing dread. Earth's united military forces had decent technology, fusion drives, particle shields, kinetic weapons that could punch through most known alloys, but nothing like what the Krell possessed. Their ships moved with impossible speed, their weapons cut through defensive shields like they weren't even there, and their hulls repaired themselves mid-battle. "They're calling us primitive," Admiral Jackson said, tossing the intelligence report onto the holodable where the Joint Chiefs of Earth Defense Force had gathered. "Their long-range communications we intercepted refer to us as barely spacefaring apes." Captain Maya Chen stood silently at the back of the room. At 38, she was the youngest person present, having earned her command through a combination of tactical brilliance and a near-suicidal willingness to take risks that somehow always paid off. She'd been summoned here directly from the orbital shipyards where her experimental vessel, the U.S. Defiance, was undergoing its final preparations. "Let them underestimate us," Chen said, drawing all eyes in the room. "It's the only advantage we have." The Admiral's weathered face creased with a grim smile. "Captain Chen thinks we should fight." "I think we have no choice," she corrected. "The Krell don't accept surrender. They've demonstrated that 7 times now, but they've never faced humans before." The Defiance wasn't like other Earth ships. It looked conventional enough. A kilometer-long spear of titanium alloy and carbon composites, bristling with railgun turrets and missile ports. But its heart was something entirely new, an adaptive quantum neural network coupled with experimental metamaterial technology. 3 days later, the Krell launched their first attack. They didn't bother with ultimatums or demands. A fleet of 15 biomechanical warships simply appeared in high Earth orbit and opened fire on the orbital defense platforms. The platforms, hardened against conventional weapons, lasted approximately 3 minutes against the Krell's phased energy beams. "They're targeting our major cities," Communications Officer Rashid reported, his voice steady despite the horror unfolding on the tactical displays. "New York, Beijing, Moscow. They're all under direct assault." Chen stood on the bridge of the Defiance, still docked at the Mars shipyard. The vessel wasn't ready. The neural network was operating at only 60% efficiency, and half the weapon systems were still being calibrated. "Status of the Earth fleet?" she asked. "Engaging the enemy." But Lieutenant Commander Davis hesitated. "It's not going well, Captain. 70% losses already. The Krell ships are they're unstoppable." Chen's eyes narrowed as she studied the tactical display. The Krell ships moved in perfect coordination, almost like a single organism with multiple bodies. Their strikes were preemptive, hitting Earth vessels before they could maneuver into attack position. "They're networked," she murmured. "Their ships are sharing targeting data, tactical analysis, everything. That's why they're so efficient." She turned to her XO, Commander Takahashi. "Prep for immediate launch. All personnel. Battle stations." "Captain, we're still at minimum operational capacity," Takahashi protested. "Engineering reports the drive core is unstable beyond 70% thrust." "Then we'll make do with 70%, Chen said. "Earth won't survive long enough for us to finish our systems check." The Defiance broke from its moorings 20 minutes later, accelerating toward the inner solar system, where Earth's defense fleet was being systematically dismantled. On the main view screen, Shen watched as another Earth destroyer was split in half by a Krell energy lance. "What's our plan, Captain?" Davis asked quietly. Chen's face was illuminated by the red emergency lighting of the bridge. "The Krell think they know what they're facing. primitive technology, predictable tactics. They've cataloged our weapons, our defenses, and calculated that we pose no threat. She smiled thinly. Let's show them how wrong they are. The Defiance's first engagement came at the orbital line of Jupiter. 3 Krell warships had broken off from the main assault to destroy humanity's outer system colonies and mining operations. They didn't alter course as the Defiance approached, just another human vessel to be casually obliterated. They're scanning us, Rashid reported. Standard protocol for them before engagement. Chen nodded. Perfect. Activate the neural network. Full passive mode. The ship hummed as the quantum processors came online. Unlike traditional computers, the network wasn't just analyzing the Krell scan. It was learning from it, adapting to it. They're locking weapons, Davis reported. Energy signatures building. Hold position, Chen ordered. Let them fire first. The lead Krell vessel fired, its energy lance lashing out across thousands of kilometers of space. It struck the Defiance dead center and seemed to ripple across the hull like water, dissipating harmlessly. Neural network is analyzing their weapon frequencies, Science Officer Park reported, excitement bleeding into her professional tone. Adaptive shielding is reconfiguring, effectiveness at 87% and climbing. For the first time since they appeared, the Krell hesitated. Their next volley came seconds later, stronger, on different frequencies. Again, the energy dispersed across the Defiance's hull. Return fire, Chen ordered. All forward railguns. Target their central mass. The Defiance's railguns launched hypervelocity tungsten rounds at a significant fraction of light speed. Against the first Krell ship, they proved devastatingly effective, punching through the biomechanical hull and triggering secondary explosions inside. The Krell adapted quickly. Their second ship generated some kind of energy field that deflected the railgun rounds. But the neural network was learning too, adjusting the Defiance's weapons in real time. Phase shift the next volley, Chen ordered. Match the frequency of their defensive field and invert it. The Defiance's second barrage passed through the Krell shields as if they weren't there, shredding the alien vessel. The third Krell ship immediately broke off, accelerating away. They're retreating, Davis said in disbelief. No, Chen corrected grimly. They're reporting back to the main fleet. We've just lost our element of surprise. Hours later, the situation had deteriorated further. Earth's defense fleet was down to a handful of vessels. Coastal cities around the world were in flames from orbital bombardment. The Krell had adapted to the Defiance's initial tactics, and the neural network was struggling to keep up with their rapidly evolving attack patterns. They're learning faster than we expected, Park said, her face illuminated by the red emergency lights of the damaged bridge. Their biomechanical systems allow for more rapid adaptation than our models predicted. Chen wiped blood from a cut on her forehead, studying the tactical display. They're networked, she repeated. That's their strength, but it could also be their weakness. If they all share the same tactical database. She straightened, a plan forming. Set course for Earth, maximum thrust. We're going to hit their main fleet. Captain, Takahashi said quietly, we're one ship. They have 12 left. 11 more than I'd like, Chen acknowledged. But the Defiance isn't just a ship. It's humanity's statement to the galaxy. Get me a direct channel to Admiral Jackson. I need everything we have left for one coordinated assault. As the Defiance accelerated toward Earth, Chen outlined her desperate plan. The neural network had identified a pattern in Krell communications, a vulnerability that might just give humanity a fighting chance. Their networked intelligence is their greatest strength, she explained to her officers. But networks can be hacked, corrupted, overloaded. We're going to introduce a virus into their system. The Defiance would need to get dangerously close to the Krell flagship, close enough to establish a direct quantum link with their network. From there, the ship's neural system would introduce a cascade of contradictory tactical data, essentially giving the Krell fleet the digital equivalent of a sieger. It was a suicide mission. Everyone on the bridge knew it. Earth has hours left, maybe less, Chen said quietly. "This is our only chance." The Defiance dropped out of hyperspace directly in the midst of the Krull fleet, weapons blazing. Earth's remaining vessels, following Chen's instructions, launched simultaneous attacks from multiple vectors, creating exactly the kind of chaotic battlefield environment the captain had envisioned. The Krell, for the first time, seemed caught off guard. Their perfectly coordinated fleet movements faltered as they tried to address multiple threats simultaneously. "Get me alongside their flagship," Chen ordered, her voice steady despite the violent shuddering of the Defiance as it absorbed hit after hit. "Everything we have to the shields. We just need 2 minutes." As they closed with the massive Krell command ship, the true scale of Chen's gamble became apparent. The Krell vessel dwarfed the Defiance, its writhing, tentacled hull bristling with weapon emplacements. Energy beams lashed out, each powerful enough to vaporize a conventional Earth vessel. But the Defiance wasn't conventional. Its adaptive shields, while straining to the breaking point, held. Establishing quantum link, Park reported, fingers flying across her console. "Their network security is adaptive. The neural network is having trouble breaching their defenses." Chen gripped the arms of her command chair as another hit rocked the ship. "Divert power from life support if you have to. We need that link." The bridge grew noticeably colder as auxiliary systems were shut down to feed power to the neural network. Warning lights flashed across every console. "Hull breach, Deck 7, Davis reported. "Emergency force fields holding. But we can't take much more of this." "Link established," Park suddenly shouted. "Uploading the virus now." On the view screen, the Krell flagship seemed to shudder. Its tentacles, previously moving with sinuous purpose, began to twitch erratically. "It's working," Takahashi breathed. "Their coordination is breaking down." Around them, the Krell fleet's movements became increasingly erratic. Ships that had been executing perfect formation attacks began to drift aimlessly or, worse, fire on each other. "The virus is propagating through their entire network," Park confirmed. "Their shared tactical database is corrupted. They can't distinguish friend from foe." Chen allowed herself a small, grim smile. "Signal all Earth vessels. Attack pattern Omega. Target any Krell ship still moving with purpose." The battle that followed was chaotic but decisive. Without their networked intelligence, the Krell ships were still formidable, but no longer invincible. 3 more were destroyed in quick succession by the remaining Earth vessels. "They're retreating," Davis reported, genuine shock in his voice. "The Krell are actually retreating." On the view screen, the surviving alien vessels were accelerating away from Earth, their movements still uncoordinated. Chen slumped slightly in her chair, finally allowing herself to feel the exhaustion. Maintain battle stations. They might regroup. But the retreat continued. The Krell, for the first time in their expansion, had met a species that could hurt them. A species whose technology might be less advanced in some ways, but whose adaptability and determination made them far more dangerous than their development level suggested. "Captain," Communications Officer Rashid said, "we're receiving transmission from Earth. Admiral Jackson is requesting to speak with you directly." Chen nodded, straightening her bloody uniform as best she could. "Put him through." Admiral Jackson's face appeared on the screen, smoke and debris visible behind him. "Captain Chen," he said, his voice hoarse, "it appears you've saved human civilization today." Chen shook her head. "Not just me, sir. The Defiance, and every ship that fought alongside us." "Nevertheless," Jackson continued, "history will remember this as the day humanity proved we belong among the stars. The day we showed the galaxy that we will not be conquered or exterminated." As the Defiance limped back toward Earth orbit, its hull scared and systems failing, Maya Chen looked out at the stars. The Krell would return. She had no illusions about that. But next time, humanity would be ready. The neural network technology would be refined, improved, distributed throughout the fleet. And the galaxy would learn what the Krell had discovered today. Underestimating humans was a fatal mistake. Defiance Unleash. 3 months after what was now being called the Battle of Earth, the planet was still recovering. Coastal cities lay in ruins, millions had died in the initial Krell attack, and the orbital defense infrastructure had been nearly obliterated. But humanity, true to form, was rebuilding at an astonishing pace. Captain Maya Chen stood in the observation deck of the orbital shipyard, watching as dozens of new vessels took shape. Each incorporated elements of the Defiance's revolutionary technology, improved and refined based on data from the battle. "The Krell made a fundamental error," she said to Admiral Jackson, who stood beside her. "They thought technology alone determines the outcome of war." Jackson nodded, his eyes on the shipyard. "Instead of measuring our weapons or studying our tactics, they should have been studying our history. Humans have been overcoming superior forces through ingenuity and sheer stubbornness since we were fighting with sticks and stones." The U.S. Defiance itself was docked nearby, its battle scars still visible despite extensive repairs. The experimental vessel had become a symbol of humanity's resistance and its new role in galactic affairs. "Intelligence reports suggest the Krell are regrouping," Jackson continued, his tone growing serious. "Their losses here were significant, but they control 7 other star systems. They won't take this defeat lightly." "No," Chen agreed. "They'll adapt. Next time they'll have countermeasures against our neural network attack. They'll come with a larger fleet, different weapons. Which is why we're not waiting for them to come to us," Jackson said, handing her a data tablet. "The Joint Chiefs have approved your proposal. You're getting your task force." Chen reviewed the orders with a growing sense of both excitement and trepidation. 6 vessels, all incorporating the Defiance's adaptive technology, under her command. Their mission, to take the fight directly to the Krell. "This is no longer just about defending Earth," Jackson said. "It's about showing the Krell, and any other hostile species watching, that attacking humanity carries consequences." 2 weeks later, Task Force Defiance departed Earth orbit. In addition to Chen's flagship, the fleet included the destroyers Resilience and Intrepid, the cruisers Valiant and Dauntless, and the support vessel Prometheus. Each ship carried improved versions of the neural network technology, along with new weapon systems designed specifically to counter Krell defenses. Their destination was Proxima Centauri, where intelligence suggested the Krell were establishing a forward base for their next assault on Sol system. "They're adapting to us," Science Officer Park observed during the mission briefing. "Long-range scans show they've modified their ship designs. Their hulls now incorporate materials that should be more resistant to our railgun attacks." "Then we'll need to adapt faster," Chen replied simply. The task force dropped out of FTL on the edge of the Proxima Centauri system, sensors immediately detecting a substantial Krell presence. 23 warships orbited the system's habitable planet, along with what appeared to be construction platforms building additional vessels. "They're preparing for a major offensive," Takahashi noted grimly. Chen studied the tactical display, noting the modifications to the Krell vessels. "They've reinforced their hulls against kinetic weapons, added redundant systems to prevent catastrophic cascade failures from our virus attack. They're learning." "Should we withdraw and report back?" Davis asked. Chen shook her head. "No, this is exactly what we expected. The Krell think they've countered our advantages, but they're still making the same fundamental mistake." "Which is?" Takahashi asked. "They're preparing to fight the last battle," Chen said, a small smile playing at the corner of her mouth, "while we've been preparing for the next one. Tactical, bring all ships to combat readiness. Deploy the phase-shifted drones." The phase-shifted drones were a new addition to humanity's arsenal, tiny, nearly undetectable craft that could penetrate Krell defensive screens by shifting partially out of normal spacetime. Each carried a quantum entanglement node that would attach to a Krell vessel's neural network access points. Drones away, Davis reported as the swarm of microscopic devices accelerated toward the Krell fleet. For several tense minutes, Task Force Defiance waited, maintaining position just beyond the Krell's detection range. Then Park's console lit up with incoming data. Drones have successfully attached to 18 Krell vessels, she reported. We're receiving telemetry directly from their internal systems. Chen nodded in satisfaction. Now for Phase 2. Bring the fleet to full combat alert. All vessels to implement maneuver Thermopylae. Task Force Defiance accelerated into the Proxima Centauri system in a tight formation that would have been suicidal against the Krell's previous capabilities. As expected, the alien fleet responded immediately, their ships forming up into their own attack pattern. They've detected us, Davis confirmed. Krell fleet is moving to intercept. Energy signatures indicate weapons charging. Hold course, Chen ordered calmly. Let them think they have us. The Krell opened fire at extreme range, their energy weapons lashing out across space toward the human fleet. But the beams passed harmlessly through the human vessels, finding no purchase. Holographic projections functioning perfectly, Park reported with a note of triumph. They're firing at ghosts. The real Task Force Defiance was actually approaching from a completely different vector, using the system's star to mask their energy signatures. By the time the Krell realized their mistake, the human vessels were already in optimal firing position. All ships, execute attack pattern Chemra, Chen ordered. Target their command vessels first. The human fleet opened fire with weapons the Krell had never encountered before. Instead of railguns firing kinetic projectiles, the Defiance and its sister ships launched what appeared to be standard missiles, until they reached proximity with their targets and split into dozens of smaller projectiles, each containing a miniature singularity generator. The micro-singularities, though short-lived, created localized gravitational distortions that ripped through the Krell's biomechanical hulls from the inside out, bypassing their reinforced external armor entirely. Direct hits on all primary targets, Davis reported as the Krell command ships began to break apart. Their fleet coordination is already degrading. But the Krell adapted quickly. Their remaining ships shifted formation, bringing additional weapons to bear on the human fleet. Energy beams sliced through space, this time finding real targets. Valiant reports moderate damage to their port shield generator. Communications reported. Dauntless has lost 2 weapon pods. Chen nodded calmly. As expected, initiate neural override. This was the true purpose of the drones they deployed earlier. Using the quantum entanglement nodes attached directly to the Krell vessel's systems, the human fleet transmitted a complex series of commands directly into the aliens' biomechanical control networks. The effect was immediate and devastating. Krell ships suddenly turned their weapons on each other, firing at point-blank range. Others simply went dead in space, their systems crashed by the unexpected intrusion. It's working, Park said, a note of wonder in her voice. We're not just jamming their coordination network this time. We're controlling it. Chen allowed herself a small smile. The Krell made their ships too intelligent, too integrated. They never considered that such integration could be turned against them. The battle, if it could still be called that, was over within minutes. The few Krell vessels that managed to isolate themselves from the compromised network were quickly dispatched by conventional weapons fire from the human fleet. Cease fire, Chen ordered as the last Krell ship broke apart. Scan for survivors and any intact technology we can salvage. As Task Force Defiance moved through the debris field, gathering valuable intelligence and technology, Chen received a priority communication from Earth. Captain, Admiral Jackson said, his image appearing on the main view screen, preliminary reports of your engagement at Proxima Centauri are, well, frankly, they're beyond our most optimistic projections. The Krell underestimated us, Admiral, Chen replied simply. Again. Perhaps, Jackson acknowledged. But this victory is different. We've received transmissions from 3 other species in neighboring sectors. It seems the Krell have been the dominant predatory force in this part of the galaxy for centuries. No one thought they could be defeated. Until now, Chen said. Until now, Jackson agreed. These other species are requesting diplomatic contact with Earth. They're offering technology, resources, alliance. Humanity just went from an isolated backwater to a major galactic player overnight. Chen looked out at the stars visible beyond the wreckage of the Krell fleet. In just a few months, humanity had gone from fighting for its very survival to projecting power beyond its home system. All because an alien empire had made the fatal mistake of dismissing humans as primitive and predictable. "We should accept their diplomatic overtures," she said after a moment. "But let's not forget what put us in this position in the first place. Our adaptive technology," Jackson asked. Chen shook her head. "No, Admiral. The fact that humans have never accepted the impossible. When the Krell came to our system with overwhelming force, they expected surrender or futile resistance. What they got instead was innovation and determination. That's the real lesson here." As Task Force Defiance prepared to return to Earth, carrying valuable salvaged Krell technology, and the news of their decisive victory, Maya Chen reflected on the strange path that had led them here. Humanity had been forced into the galactic community through fire and blood, but they had proven themselves worthy of their place among the stars. And any species that made the mistake of underestimating humans in the future would learn the same harsh lesson as the Krell, that sometimes the most dangerous adversary isn't the one with the most advanced technology or the largest fleet, but the one that simply refuses to accept defeat. In the observation deck of the Defiance, Chen watched as the stars streaked past, carrying them back to an Earth that now stood tall among the galactic powers. The Krell had laughed at humanity's primitive technology and limited reach. They weren't laughing anymore.